Now, there may be a shower or two or some drizzle in the areas of fog, too, with a low of 54. And it is going to be a cooler day on Tuesday. A lot of clouds, kind of a gray day. Not much in the way of rainfall, but there might be a shower, high of 64. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy. Once again, some drizzle or a shower, patchy fog, low of 52. And Wednesday, we continue with mostly cloudy skies. Maybe a quick shower to move on through with a high of 64. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin B. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Good evening, everyone. You're tuned correctly for the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. I'm your host, Tim Coco. In Master Control, our producer, Nathan E. Webster III. Thank you very much, Haverhill Community Television, for repairing a computer at their studios that prevented video from being sent for a couple of weeks. We're happy that our viewers can see us again. Whether or not our viewers are happy is another matter. All right, you can watch and listen to the Open Mic Show for the next 2 hours at Haverhill Community Television Channel 22 and WHAV.TV on your computer or smartphone. You can listen to WHAV 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at WHAV.net, AM radio 1640, and cable television behind the bulletin boards on Andover Channel 8, Haverhill Channel 22, Methuen Channels 8 and 22 on Comcast, Channel 32 on Verizon Fios, Plastow, New Hampshire, Channels 17 and 23, Sandown, Channel 17. We invite your calls and comments tonight, a rather full schedule. Now, you might be wondering, if you're watching, why there is a bottle of wine and two, well, they're not wine glasses. We don't have wine glasses. We have brandy snifters. Why are those here? Well, we're celebrating with Spotlight Playhouse the opening of their brand new program, Arsenic and Old Lace. It'll be playing at Haverhill City Hall live, and we're going to have Kevin Wilson and Meaghan Cary here tonight, just after the news at 7 o'clock, to discuss the production of Arsenic and Old Lace by Haverhill-based Spotlight Playhouse. And then we'll maybe keep the wine out, because coming to visit us after that, Haverhill City Councilor Mary Ellen Daly-O'Brien. Now, why is Mary Ellen Daly-O'Brien coming? Well, she has an item on the council agenda tomorrow night, has items frequently, but she is talking about problems with broken streetlights in the downtown. We thought we'd take advantage of that as part of the Haverhill Heritage Series to look at streetlights in downtown Haverhill over the years. How do today's streetlights compare to those from the 1940s, for example, earlier or later? So we'll discuss that with Haverhill City Councilor Mary Ellen Daly-O'Brien. During the program, we'll take your calls and comments. You can call 978-374-1900. Again, 978-374-1900. You can also use the message board to send comments, and I'm going to go read a few of the ones that we've received on other WHAV comment boards over the past week or so. But you can use the message board. It's below the TV screen at WHAV.TV. If you're on the WHAV website, simply go to Tune In, click the watch button. Down at the bottom of the page, you'll see where comments are entered. If for some reason you prefer to email, you can email me directly at tcoco, T-C-O-C-O, at WHAV.net. Now, for prizes, and we're gonna go through this. For prizes, we did give away. We finally had a winner to the question of the oldest bowling league in Haverhill. The answer was Libro's Hot Stove. and that prize is going out. We don't yet have another prize yet from our good friends at Kimball Tavern Antiques. I'm sad to say that one of the Wood brothers, not one that has called the program, but rather young, passed away last week, and our condolences go out to the family. We have birthday cakes and anniversary cakes from our friends at Albie D's Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street. Albie D's Italian Bakery donates the cake. It is very generous of them, and we're very appreciative, and our listeners are as well. I hope you'll visit them whether you win a cake or not. But they're providing a 7-inch chocolate or vanilla cake to the winner of this month's Happy Birthday, Happy Anniversary contest, as they do every month. We are taking birthdays for October until 8:15. Tonight is the big drawing night. We find out who won a birthday or anniversary cake at 8:15 tonight. So be sure you stay tuned. If you have a birthday or anniversary in October, know of someone, get their names in as soon as possible. We have 5 entries in the hat now. So to win a prize, though, you can't email or text that. You have to call 978-374-1900. Next week, we begin on November birthdays and anniversaries. Winners are drawn on the last Monday of each month. A programming note, in a couple of weeks, Open Mic will be off the air. We'll have a repeat because of the Columbus Day holiday. So if you were planning on calling that weekend with your birthdays, make sure you get them in before or after. Just a word about Albie D's Italian Bakery. They're rather new. Well, how long have they been there? A year maybe now? But they're very good. We've heard all kinds of great compliments from WHAV listeners. Besides the cakes, Albie D serves Italian breads, cookies, pastries, cakes, pizzas, meat pies, and more. They're made by scratch from their baking staff, and you really ought to check them out right there, right off Central Square in Bradford. And yes, it is Central Square. I don't know, everyone calls it Bradford Square. If you have a commentary on that, we'll take your call as well, 978-374-1900. I've been receiving some comments, plenty of comments actually on the WHAV website, and I do want to address something that may not be clear. And I thought I'd do that at the outset, and I'll repeat it again in case some of the listeners who are concerned are not yet tuned in. When WHAV News reports on information such as former Senator and Methuen City Councilor Jim DeJuga's lobbying for a particular medical marijuana facility, or they're stores. They're just like department stores. You walk in and you pick out all kinds of things that are made with pot, marijuana. You can buy baked goods, for example, with it built in. I'm going to make the comment. The news is never opinionated, but my show is, Open Mic Show is opinionated. And let me just make it very clear. I am not opposed to what the voters did. This is a democracy, after all. The voters approved medical marijuana. And I agree with the comments of those who are waiting for this medicine. For them, especially those with cancer treatments and other illnesses that are waiting for this marijuana treatment, I agree with them that the delay has gone on too long. But to be clear, the problem is because of the corrupt political process. This wouldn't be delayed if the state hadn't set up some giant bureaucracy, as the statist tends to do, to create it. They brought in, I think, Karen Van Unen at the Department of Public Health to administer it, and then it became a political free-for-all. Dirty money polluted the system completely. Lobbyists went out, former senators, and there'll be another big blockbuster coming on that topic as well. as if I understand, from keeping my ear to the door of WHAV News. But it became a contaminated political process. And one might argue that, the Haverhill City Council didn't need to wait so long for its moratorium, and other communities who did them. Have a public hearing, invite the public's comments on where these facilities should go. Malden City Councilor, he's running for Secretary of the Commonwealth, David D'Arcangelo, had an idea in his community that seems to make a lot of sense. If it's a medical use, let's just put it where medical uses are allowed. So in Haverhill, that would be down by the hospital. I think there's a medical park off Dudley Street, of course, the Pentucket Medical Area downtown. And that's how Malden dealt with it. Haverhill has had more than a year to look at this. I'm sure some people are opposed to downtown. I'm sure some are opposed to the industrial parks. I'm sure some will be opposed to where medical districts already reside. But the fact of the matter is, zoning law, the city council eventually has to choose a zone for these facilities. So let there be no doubt that the complaints I have about the medical marijuana process is about the dirty money politics that has contaminated it. And then the delays should take care of themselves once we deal with that. But I'd like to hear your comments, because we are getting some comments. Let me just read one here. Today, WHAV News reported a story. Mayor Fiorentini of Haverhill has asked the city council to ban bath salts, as they're called. We'll talk more about why some disagree with that term. And someone wrote, plenty of time to chase after a non-existent threat, but still no marijuana dispensaries in the entire Commonwealth. What is it now? Almost 2 years since the voters approved the medical marijuana law. And that's one reader. And that's why I thought it was necessary to point out the Open Mic Show's position on this. It's the dirty money that is of concern here, not what voters approved. After all, in a democracy, the voters have the final say. Now, someone else wrote regarding the mayor's law, and city councils are going to take this up tomorrow. And if this writer is correct, the city council may very well pass a law that doesn't mean anything. And this are an ordinance, as they're called here. So this person wrote, synthetic marijuana is not bath salts. Bath salts mimic methamphetamines and other incredibly potent psychoactive drugs. To lump them together and then to pass laws on them is to make laws based on ignorance. The reason these drugs exist in the first place is from other laws passed based on ignorance. I wonder how many people will die from overdoses on illegal drugs before one person gets anxious because they are stoned and go to the hospital because they smoke too much fake pot, only to feel foolish in an hour or so later and then go home and eat a bowl of ice cream. A little joke, apparently, from the writer. This is America, a land where we are free to make poor decisions if we want to, not to mention the chemists are light years ahead of the laws. Make drug A, B, and C illegal, and overnight the rest of the alphabet will be available, and it will only be the fault of lawmakers. Get educated. The best thing to combat the drug problem is to ignore it. Okay, that's the opinion of one writer who wrote to WHAV today. We're going to take a brief break, but we have lots of comments that are coming up on the vastly expanded WHAV website, and I want to share some of those with you and get your opinions as well. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a minute.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
When local news breaks, the wave is there. Soft Gold, WHAV.
Open mic.
Every Monday night, the Open Mic Show brings interesting guests into your homes, presents your take on current events, and dabbles in little-known local history. I'm Tim Coco, your host, inviting you to join the chorus of community voices beginning at 6:30 Monday nights right here on WHAV. You may also watch this 50-year staple of democracy live at WHAV.tv and Haverhill Community Television, Channel 22. The Open Mic Show was brought to you by Northern Essex Community College, the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council, and WHAV members. Remember, only local radio can bring you this talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Today is September 29th. On this day in 1838, Henry Hobson Richardson, one of the true geniuses of American architecture, was born. A native of Louisiana, he received his architectural training in Paris, but the ties he formed during his years at Harvard College, including marriage to a Bostonian, led him to make Boston his home. He designed nearly 80 buildings, including churches, libraries, railroad stations, and private homes, many of them in Massachusetts. His buildings were visually striking and beautifully proportioned. He used forms inspired by early medieval churches, including rounded arches, massive towers, and rugged stone walls, with blocks often laid in bands of contrasting color. Widely copied across the nation, Richardsonian Romanesque became the first and only architectural style named after an American. For more about this and other Mass Moments, go online to massmoments.org. Brought to you by the Massachusetts Foundation for the Humanities.
Some gold favorites, the most music. Catch the wave. WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Coming from. Just a few quick reminders before we take our first phone calls. Whittier Birthplace closes for the season in October. So if you want a free pass to visit while the leaves are in color and take a look at a 326-year-old farmhouse while it's still open, we'll give a free pass to the first person requesting one as well. How are my levels there? I'm not seeing my meters move. All right. And then that's one note. Two, we're giving away the birthday cake and anniversary cake for October birthdays tonight at 8:15. So you have until then to get in your birthdays and anniversaries for October, and then beginning next week we'll start with these November birthdays. And okay, in case you're wondering, if you're watching on WHAV TV, why there's a bottle of elderberry wine and some glasses here, well, we're having our friends from Spotlight Playhouse join us just after the news at 7 o'clock to discuss their new play, Arsenic and Old Lace. I'm sure many of you remember the play. Some of you might remember the Haverhill High School production of it in 1979, but maybe that's a secret now. All right. Just one last note before we take a call. WHAV is participating in the League of Women Voters debate at the Citizen Center on October 15th. And right now I can confirm just before the show, that Representative Diana DeZoglio and Rosemary Smedili are attending. That's a contested race. Representative Linda Dean Campbell and Al Danuccio, both of Methuen, are attending. And one that might be of particular interest to Haverhill listeners, Senator Kathleen O'Connor Ives and her challenger, Sean Toohey, Haverhill School Committeemen, are both confirmed. They will not be an empty chair type of debate, so if other races where both candidates show, there will also include a debate such as governor's council or registrar or probate, but those are not yet confirmed. Let's go to the phones. You're on the open mic show. You're on the open mic. Anyone there? You're on the open mic.
Good evening. Good evening, Tim.
Hi there. How are you?
Good, good. You took the gloves off, huh, on this marijuana issue, but I don't want to talk about it tonight. I just wanted to talk about something that'll impact everybody in Massachusetts.
All right. What is that?
The electric rates.
Yes, absolutely. WHAV News reported that, and also reported that agencies like Community Action are trying to help people with that as well.
I called House Chairman DeLeo's office today, and his administrative assistant, one of many, I'm sure, was kind of interested in what I had to say.
Really?
What I said was, some of the numbers in the paper. It's very hard for me to believe that the average homeowner only uses 500 kilowatts per hour per month, because I certainly use a heck of a lot more. And that they said, well, it's going to be the average is using 500 kilowatts. Their bill was going to increase $33 to $131 per month. In other words, an increase of $88. But in my particular case, it's going to increase because I use a heck of a lot more than that. And
no, actually, that's a good point you're making, is that when they come up with these numbers, it's to placate us, the public, and it's not quite true, is it?
Yeah, no, it's not quite true. I'm sure that the average kilowatt hours the average is significantly higher than 500 kilowatts per month. See, and that's the big number there, Tim. At 500, under 500, the rate of the energy and the rate of the transmission are a certain number. But as soon as you go over, not 500 but 600, as soon as you go over 600, it increases approximately. Both charges increase approximately a third. So I mean, it's not fair.
No,
and,
actually,
the thing that I really talked to Senator DeLeo's office was that why doesn't the homeowner get a decrease in power, decrease in rate during the evening hours? In other words, from say 10 until 6 a.m.
Okay, good point.
Yeah, because what happens, I'll give you an example.
Kind of like the old long-distance system.
Yeah. I was involved in a project out in western Massachusetts. First of all, Quabbin Reservoir, they wanted to divert water from the Connecticut River, put it into a reservoir, a very large reservoir, up gradient from Quabbin, just a matter of miles. This reservoir was going to be very, very big. And then they would discharge it down that side of the mountain into Quabbin. This was years ago when, the Quabbin's average day demand was like 330, 400 million gallons a day because of all the leaks and problems with the leakage
Sure.
and what they call unaccounted for water, all right?
Okay.
Since that time, they've reduced their unaccounted for water, and the average, I would say the average day demand for the MWRA is probably in the 230 to 230 million gallons per day. Speaking of that, you'd never build another Quabbin.
No,
it's
right.
unfortunate, but I don't think you'd build one.
No, you're right.
So anyway, this project, it was called the Northborough Mountain Project, And basically, what we did was we raised the elevation on the reservoir. We approved that, and the power company out there, I don't even know what the name of it was. Probably Pittsfield Power or something like that. What their plan was to pump water up to that reservoir and allow it to go back down into the Connecticut River during the night hours. And the reason was it didn't cost them as much to generate or transmit energy at that particular time of the night because there was no demand.
Sure.
You know? People get up in the morning. That's when the demand was. So basically, they pump it up to the mountain, and then let it flow through the hydro system, generate power for the early morning hours, the cooking, the showering.
Yeah, actually, I think
kinds of things.
Commercial usage has it's a tariff called interruptible.
Yeah. So my idea is that why don't they give the consumer a break on power at night? At night because it doesn't cost them as much.
Hey, let me ask you another question. That's a good question. Let me ask you another one. Right now, rates go up anyway because it's a conservation.
Regulators are sometimes too friendly with the people they regulate.
Well, that's another factor, but also they tend to go up because of an energy conservation measure.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's really mean-spirited because it comes at the worst possible time.
Yeah.
People with these prices today already have an incentive to conserve energy.
Exactly. It's already built in. You know what I've got? I bought some motion lights.
What's that?
I bought some motion lights, and I put one in two of them in the bathroom and two of them in the kitchen. Because when members of the family, and my son, gets up to go to the refrigerator, sometimes he leaves the kitchen light on all night.
Oh, okay, that's a good system.
Or he goes into the bathroom, he leaves the bathroom light on. So in other words, I put these motion lights on there, two of them, and they'll light up as soon as he enters the kitchen or he enters the bathroom. And it's only a minuscule thing, but I was more interested in finding out if my home, my roof was a good site for solar energy,
Okay, what did you find out about that?
I found out that it's a very good one.
Oh, good.
Very good, yeah.
So you're going to do solar panels on your roof?
Well, I'm going to look at it because I understand some of the incentives are going to fade out. I called somebody who does it. Most of the companies want to take the incentives. In other words, all they more or less want to do is rent your roof.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, and give you a small stipend.
Oh, so you don't really get the real benefit.
No, you don't get the federal tax benefit, or you don't get the local Massachusetts benefit either.
No, that probably should be a credit altogether for the equipment purchase.
You know what I was thinking of doing, Tim? Getting enough solar panels on the roof, because the capital costs are expensive, and I'm not going to be around here when they're paid up, right?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I'm 86.
I hope so.
But the thing is that the construction costs, etc., are kind of expensive, and so I figured that if I could generate enough electricity to keep me below the 600 kilowatts per hour, I would beat those transmission and energy costs.
Oh, that's an idea. So you take one part of the bill away.
Yeah, and then if you sold the house, the person might not like solar energy, and they'd only have to take half of the panels down from the roof.
Oh, I see.
The other thing that I thought of is that the incentives. That's why I called DeLeo's office. I asked them to look into the idea of sponsoring legislation which would continue and fund the incentives. In other words, another year or two, because everybody's getting hot on solar energy.
No, and as these prices will actually help sell them, so I think you're right.
Yes,
Unfortunately, Jerry, we have to go to news. But do you have a time for? I have one comment I wanted to make to you. WHAV News reported something today that I thought might get your attention. You may hear it on the news at 7, maybe at 8. But this is something that you would know very well. Haverhill residents on both sides of the river near the wastewater treatment plant have been complaining of what they've been calling a stench. And lo and behold, the wastewater department says, well, we've been cleaning the aeration basins.
Yeah.
So could you tell our listeners what that means?
Well, they have what's called, the system that they have is kind of like 2 or 3 phases. The raw sewage comes into what's called a settling tank, and then that settles all the solids out, and they go either to sludge digestion, which they don't have. Deer Island has a sludge digestion plant, so the sludge gets taken out every so often out of that settling tank. Now the effluent or the elutrient from the top is untreated with solids removed, goes to the aeration system, and basically all that is they have a favorable type of bacteria that is really in high concentration, up in what they call a logarithmic phase. It's the type of bacteria that attacks sewage, and basically happens is they add oxygen there. There's a raceway. They add oxygen, and through the process of biooxidation, they reduce the sewage to clear effluent. From there it goes to sometimes rough filters, but generally it goes to what they call a chlorine contact chamber, where it gets its dose of chlorine, and then it goes out the river. And the odor is the odor that they're smelling is an amine odor. It's a combination of ammonia and etc. So the whole basis of the treatment is that you build up a type of bacteria that breaks down the sewage, that clear effluent, and they do that by aeration. In other words, the bacteria that we're talking about have to have oxygen, and so they have this raceway. So it's a threefold process. It goes
so
primary
Jerry,
settling, primary settling into the aeration section, and then into the final chlorine contact chamber, where it's treated with. Nowadays, they don't use chlorine gas because it's kind of risky. They use hypochlorite, which is not as strong, and it's only 17% available chlorine, and it destroys all those bacteria and discharges to the river.
All right, so thank you. I knew you'd have an answer for the odors that they're having, so they're cleaning the system, doing some work on it, and I imagine...
Yeah, but you know what, Tim? I've gone by there, and that system smells all the time.
Oh, it does?
Yes, quite a lot.
All right, so is that just inherent with systems like that?
I don't know. They have a system which is fraught with problems of combined sewer overflows, and every time it rains significantly, they get a combination of sewage and stormwater. So that interferes with the treatment significantly. And the other thing is the sludge that I was talking about. What they do is press that, and I'm sure that they have it around the plant from time to time, waiting for somebody to truck it off to, say, an anaerobic digester, or to treat it, to use it for agricultural purposes, like hay and that. In other words, you can't use that sewage sludge for any crops that are rooted. You can use it for grass and alfalfa and things like that.
We have to go to news, but what we could boil that down to maybe is that the people in Riverside and Bradford might actually get some relief if we also solve the stormwater problem.
Exactly, and they've stepped up to the plate, although the $6 or $7 million that they've put up is for more or less a separation of this system, but and the price tag is going to be a heck of a lot more. And we've talked in the past about forming a collaborative of all the Merrimack Valley communities and going to a congressional delegation for some of the money that goes to other cities and states throughout the United States.
All right, Jerry, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Swimmable and fishable. Right now it's fishable, not swimmable.
All
Only
right.
maybe one place in Lowell, and they close that from time. They close that every time it rains.
Right. All right, Jerry, we're gonna have to let you go, but thank you so much for your help.
Thank you.
All right. Good night. Thanks. All right, we're a little late for news. We'll be back with our friends Meaghan, Cary, Kevin Wilson from Spotlight Playhouse, and they're going to tell me whether or not this is safe to consume. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show after local news, national news, Nate Webster's NASCAR race cap, and local weather. Did I say that already? Anyway, but it all goes by pretty fast, so please stay tuned.
Open mic.
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:08.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web, at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The White House says it supports the democratic aspirations of protesters in Hong Kong, but urges peace between riot police and demonstrators. Authorities are clashing with tens of thousands of protesters in Hong Kong as the demonstrators demand an uncensored electoral process and refuse to leave public spaces. White House spokesperson Josh Earnest said the Obama administration is closely watching the situation. He also said the White House believes an open society with universal suffrage is critical for Hong Kong's success. Mr. Earnest said U.S. leaders have made their position clear to authorities in Beijing and will continue to do so. He urged for calm in the streets of Hong Kong.
The United States urges the Hong Kong authorities to exercise restraint and for protesters to express their views peacefully. The United States supports universal suffrage in Hong Kong in accordance with the basic law, and we support the aspirations of the Hong Kong people.
The United States is congratulating Afghanistan's new leaders following the inauguration of the country's president. Ashraf Ghani was sworn in following a prolonged dispute over the election results with his rival Abdullah Abdullah, who gets the new post of chief executive. As Malcolm Brown reports from Washington, the U.S. is now hoping for the prompt signing of a deal which would allow some American troops to remain in the country after the deadline for the withdrawal of American forces.
There's relief here that Afghanistan's post-election wrangling is over and hope that the inauguration marks a new start. The U.S. Secretary of State John Kerry has congratulated Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah Abdullah, calling them patriots committed to the success of their country. The departure of former President Hamid Karzai, with whom Washington had an extremely fractious relationship, clears the way for the signing of a long-delayed deal on foreign forces staying on after 2014. The expectation is that the so-called Status of Forces Agreement would be signed within 24 hours of President Ghani's swearing in.
As the United Nations General Assembly continues, there have been renewed calls to reform the UN, in particular the UN Security Council. Here's Nick Harper from New York.
Geopolitics have changed much since the UN's creation in 1945, but the UN Security Council has altered relatively little. Calls for reform are not uncommon, especially in the public arena of the annual UN General Assembly. With 5 permanent seats and 10 rotating on the 15-member Security Council, India, Brazil, Germany and Japan all want to be added to the permanent list. And African countries, including South Africa, Kenya and Angola, who are likely to replace Rwanda on the Council next year, lament the lack of permanent representation from the African continent.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Here's what's happening in local news. Haverhill wastewater plant technicians are working to contain an odor wafting over the Bradford and Riverside neighborhoods. Mayor James J. Fiorentini told residents Sunday in a Facebook post, quote, "You should not have to put up with that odor," end quote. He said the problem centers on repairs being made to 2 storage basins. The mayor also posted a report from Deputy DPW Director Robert Ward. Quote, "Over the past few days, we received a number of calls about odors in the Bradford area from the wastewater treatment plant. Over the past week, the wastewater treatment plant staff has been making repairs to one of the primary sedimentation basins and one of the secondary aeration basins. The repair process involves draining the tanks, which result in increased odors from the plant. The primary basin repair is complete, which should significantly reduce the odors. We are bringing in additional staff to expedite the secondary aeration basin repair, which is expected to be complete next week. When complete, the process will return to normal operation," end quote. One resident referred to the odor as a stench. Another wrote, quote, "Last night was horrible, smelled like the sewage plant exploded. I was even forced to close my windows just to get some sleep," end quote. New Balance athletic shoe, a Massachusetts-based footwear manufacturer, is one beneficiary of a new Pentagon policy to buy American-made products. Appearing recently on Comcast Newsmakers, Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council President David Tibbetts discussed the impact on New Balance's Lawrence manufacturing operation.
It's huge. The Pentagon has always provided, of course, footwear for its recruits, and tradition had been for them to simply give vouchers to the recruits, and they would go to their local footwear store and buy something that was invariably made in Singapore, Taiwan, or Vietnam, or wherever much athletic footwear is made these days.
He also discussed other manufacturing success stories in the Merrimack Valley. Greater Lawrence Advanced Manufacturing Academy, a collaboration between Northern Essex Community College and Greater Lawrence Vocational Technical High School, is one of 5 recipients of the 2014 Gateway Cities Innovation Award. The award will be presented at a luncheon Thursday, November 13 at UMass Boston. The state grant was announced last April. In sports, WHAV's Nate Webster has this week's NASCAR race recap.
Chase race number 2 is in the books at Dover International Speedway. At the end of the Challenger round, 4 drivers drop, 12 drivers advance. Here's how they stack up. Jeff Gordon was your race winner. He picks up win number 4 of the season and moves on to the next round. Brad Keselowski finished second and talks about looking ahead to the next 3 races.
Can't really complain that much having won a race and second and a 7th. It's hard to look at that. All I can think about is how I wanted to win all 3 races. And now it's time to move forward. So, 3 more races. We got to keep our head on straight and push forward these next 3 like we have this last 3.
Also moving on are Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Jimmy Johnson, Kyle Busch, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Matt Kenseth, Ryan Newman, Carl Edwards, Denny Hamlin, and Casey Kane picks up the last transfer spot into the contender round. A.J. Allmendinger finished 23rd, missing the next round by just 2 points. Kurt Busch finished 6 points to the bad, and the 43 of Eric Almirola was also on the other side of the chase bubble. He was out by 18 points. For race recap, I'm Nate Webster, WHAV Sports.
Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmel.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. Clouds taking over as we head through tonight. Now, there may be a shower or 2 or some drizzle. Maybe areas of fog, too, with a low of 54. And it is going to be a cooler day on Tuesday. A lot of clouds, kind of a gray day. Not much in the way of rainfall, but there might be a shower, high of 64. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy. Once again, some drizzle or a shower, patchy fog, low of 52. And Wednesday, we continue with mostly cloudy skies. Maybe a quick shower to move on through with a high of 64. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
This is Phil Christie. Would you like to hear the wave on your stereo? Or even better, anywhere in your home? Check out the tips for better sound at www.whav.net.
Open mic. Open mic.
Tim Coco and the
Listen to The WHAV with fewer interruptions, no pop-ups, and a choice of players by tuning directly from www.whav.net.
Community Spotlight.
The Merrimack Valley Chamber of Commerce is having its annual dinner Wednesday, October 1st at the Burroughs Function Hall, Haverhill. Cocktails will be served at 6 p.m. with a follow-up dinner at 6:45. Dr. Carol Cohen of Middlesex Community College is receiving the Ralph B. Wilkinson Good Citizenship Award. Other awards include the Community Spirit Award given to YWCA of Greater Lawrence, Haverhill, Salem, and Merrimack Valley YMCA, and the Volunteer Recognition Award. Tickets are $115 per person or $1,150 per table. For more information, call the Merrimack Valley Chamber at 978-686-0900 or visit merrimackvalleychamber.com.
WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. Those of you watching on WHAV.tv or Channel 22, I'm holding a bottle of, it's unmarked, but I think it's elderberry wine. And here to help me discuss this, if not consume it, are, to my left, Meaghan, Cary, and Kevin Wilson. Kevin's been on the program before for Spotlight Playhouse. He and his son did a little part for us from, what play was that?
From The Music Man.
The Music Man. And Meaghan Cary, if those of you who know her mother, and it's probably going to embarrass her now, she looks just like her mother, Deb, who's been involved with Spotlight Playhouse for a very long time. All right, so this week, starting October 3rd at Haverhill City Hall, at the Nicholas Ross Auditorium. That's, if those of you who went to Haverhill High School there, it's the big room on the second floor. I think it takes second and third floors. All right, so it's Arsenic and Old Lace. And we have the producer and you're the director of the board, the president of the board, I'm sorry.
No, I'm a board member.
A board member here to discuss how they're going to sneak some arsenic into City Hall and poison. Who gets poisoned? Roosevelt?
Pretty much everyone.
Just about everybody.
The body count just keeps piling up.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't want to give it away, but I was joking with them, and those of you who are longtime listeners know the last play I ever worked on was a play at Haverhill High School, class of 1979, and it was Arsenic and Old Lace. And as I joked earlier, I was so talented I got assigned sound effects. Nate's having a little trouble with those, too. All right. Anyway, so tell us about the play and why Haverhillites and Greater Haverhill people should come and see it.
Well, Arsenic and Old Lace, we have two leading ladies in this, both seniors from the area. Eleanor Cameron, who has lived in Haverhill for her entire adult life, as far as I know.
Many of us had Eleanor in school.
Yep, she was a teacher at Haverhill High for over 30 years, and so many people know her for that, and we've had several people stopping by seeing our poster with her image on it and saying, hey, wait, I recognize her. So she's one of our very funny leading ladies, along with a woman named Barbara, who is from Andover. And
all right, what part does Eleanor play?
Eleanor plays Martha. One of the Brewster sisters, so the two aunts that are the little old ladies that just come across as such sweet women, and they've got their deep secrets that become unraveled as the show goes on.
Ah, very good. Now, Eleanor, correct me if I'm wrong, played an unusual role in A Christmas Carol last year.
She did, yes.
2 years ago.
Has it been 2 years already?
Yeah.
It's amazing how time goes. So she was not Ebenezer Scrooge, she was...
Ebenita.
Ebenita. So this is an organization that takes on the unusual to get out of play. So, all right. Kevin, since you're involved with the administration of this, tell us about Spotlight Playhouse. How old is the organization, and where does it reside?
We are currently beginning our 6th season. This is the first show of that season. We'll be doing 3 more shows over the course of the year. We'll be doing the radio play version of It's a Wonderful Life.
Wonderful.
Which will be at Christmas at Maria's Restaurant downtown. And we'll be doing a cabaret probably in March. That hasn't been exactly set yet.
Okay.
And then we usually do a large-scale musical in late spring, early last year, and Annie the year before that. And this year we're going to be doing
on the roof. Now, do you also, and correct me if I'm wrong, because maybe it was a one-time thing, you also do training for students in acting?
We do some workshops, and we've had summer workshops for young kids that Lauren Sprague, who is a local music teacher and also a board member, will run. They did Mr. Toad's Wild Adventure 2 years ago, and they also did what was the other one that they did? They did some short plays.
A couple of short plays, and then they're going to be doing Willy Wonka Jr. coming up. That's the next kids workshop that they'll be doing.
Right.
And I believe that's going to happen over spring vacation week.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. And you actually, the theater group, it's a non-profit organization.
It is.
Is that right?
Yep.
And it actually has office space in Haverhill, is that right?
We have rehearsal space.
Rehearsal space.
Yes. And that's on Essex Street.
All right. That's in one of the mill buildings?
Yes, it's right across from the big mural.
Oh, okay, right across from the mural. All right, very good. Because I think when I've seen the address, and I've had others think, oh, they must be using the Maria's, but this is across the street, isn't it?
We do some performances at Maria's because they have that wonderful function room, so we can have dinner theater for some of the shows. But we'll also have this show, of course, is at City Hall. The musicals are generally at the high school. We've done some at Riverside Church and a couple of other churches. Really just finding a venue that suits our needs.
All right. Now, speaking of venues that suit your needs, one of the complaints I hear about City Hall Auditorium, which really was the old Haverhill High School auditorium and used for, major, when you had 500 students at the high school, it's a very big auditorium. Does that intimidate you at all? Having a big auditorium like that, because even if it's half full, you might have one of the most successful show ever, but it looks like it isn't full. Am I saying something I shouldn't be saying?
No, this is it's common to any theater, and you want to have a large enough space that if by some chance lots of people show up, you've got room to seat them. We were at the high school, which has an even slightly larger theater, and we had a larger group for that, but there were still large sections of it that were unfilled, even when you get a fantastic audience in there. We do some of the smaller venues, such as Maria's, where once we're set up with a stage and they're set up with the tables for dinner theater, we can fit between 90 and 95 people in there for a show.
So you're cursed either way. You either don't have enough room to actually help offset the cost of the show with tickets, or you have so much room that someone might unfairly think it wasn't well attended.
Right.
Possibly. One thing we do is we usually will kind of section off the side seating areas. The views aren't as good, the sight lines aren't as good there anyways. So what we'll do is we'll kind of tell people sit in the center section.
Okay.
That does make it feel fuller.
Right.
You're not as spaced out, and you're not all over the place that way.
Okay. Now, all right, let's go over the basics, because these are so reasonably priced. Anyone a member of Show of the Month Club, which is actually really discounted tickets in Boston? Well, they're still 5 times this. Tickets are $15 until, well, we missed that.
Yeah, that date is passed.
We just passed
All
that.
right,
Yep.
so we're past September 7th. So now it's $20 a ticket, but there's a discount, $18 for seniors and Spotlight members.
Yes.
How does one become a Spotlight member?
It's a very rigorous process by which you give us $20, and that places you on the mailing list and makes you a member in full standing, eligible to vote at the annual meeting, and participate in any way. Anyone who is an actor who comes and participates in a show has to become a member.
All right. Well, it's like a lot of organizations.
Yes.
So, all right. So basically, if they become a member for $20, they get their money back with 5 shows, 10 shows.
Or 10 tickets, yes.
Or 10
Tickets. You,
That's right.
As a member, you get 2 tickets to each show discounted.
Oh, okay.
And you also get discounts if you come to any of our play readings. You get a discount on the script that you would purchase. So if you go to a few readings and a few shows, you end up making your money back. Sometimes and then some, depending on how much you come.
All right, folks. So let's look at these times. Okay, it's October 3rd. Now, what day is that?
That's Friday.
Friday. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So this Friday and Saturday.
Yep. At
8 o'clock at night at the auditorium in Haverhill City Hall, and then you resume the following weekend.
Yep.
Right.
Friday, Saturday, both at 8 o'clock.
10th and 11th. But you also have, I'm taking a matinee on Sunday, October 12th.
That's
Yes.
correct.
All right, so this is perfect for people who want to go during the day. Maybe they're out and they want to go out afterwards, so this time's well for them. All right, can you give us just, as we wrap up, just a brief synopsis of the play for viewers and listeners?
Sure. So the play opens with the Brewster's house, and the entire show actually takes place over the course of 2 days. And so you open and you see the Brewster sisters there in their old Victorian house. It's really, the set is just gorgeous. It's 2 stories. You see the living room and the staircase wrapping around and going up to the 2nd floor.
Old style mansion.
Old style mansion, yep, with the banister railing and everything. We've got 2 gorgeous stained glass windows on the staircase going up, and another stained glass window above the window seat area. I won't give away that part of it, but the large window with open access to outside, not really outside.
Sure.
And then as the show progresses, you follow them through into that evening. They have visitors from their nephews. One of the nephews lives with them, and he's an interesting character. He is named Teddy, and he truly believes that he is Teddy Roosevelt. But he is just Teddy Brewster.
I remember that.
And so, that adds a lot of comedy to the show. And he's just a lot of fun to watch on stage. He's a local comedian and DJ, I believe, from the area, Elvis Collins. And so we follow him and his brother, who comes back to visit, along with one of, actually both of his brothers. 2 brothers come to visit, one with the fiance and one with his doctor friend.
Hinchman.
Yes.
So this is
and
so
you
this
just
is
follow
an
them through the
average
day.
Haverhill family.
Pretty much, yes. It's the
hope
Brady
not.
Bunch gone horribly wrong.
Yes.
Oh, hey,
Yep.
that's a great line to conclude on. The Brady Bunch gone horribly wrong. See it Friday or Saturday this week, or Friday or Saturday next week, 8 o'clock at Haverhill City Hall, 4 Summers Street in Haverhill. If you prefer a matinee, that's October 12th, 2 o'clock. Tickets are only $20. I gotta make sure I don't keep reading the discount. You missed that, folks. Shame on you. Me too. I'll have to pay full price. $20 for tickets. $18 if you're a senior or a Spotlight member. Let's give for tickets. They can buy them online.
Yes.
Right.
SpotlightPlayhouse.org.
Yep.
Spotlight Playhouse, all one word, .org.
Yes.
You can also email that at tickets at
SpotlightPlayhouse.org.
Or call.
Or call. Why don't you read us the number?
Sure, so you can call 617-470-2888. 2175 and leave a voicemail message there, and we will reserve tickets for you. You can pick them up at will call.
We're going to have some elderberry wine, yes.
And if you don't manage to get tickets beforehand, it is possible to get them at the door.
You can as well,
You can
yes.
get them at the door. We'll be right back if this isn't contaminated. All right. Have a great... Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you.
We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show, and City Councilor Mary Ellen Daly-O'Brien going to be talking to us about street lighting in downtown Haverhill. We have a little surprise for listeners and for Mary Ellen. We have photographs of street lights over the years in downtown Haverhill. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show after weather.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 7:32.
Phil Christie here. Still not sure when your favorite features are broadcast? Check out the What's On page at www.whav.net for complete listings.
Catch the wave!
The most trusted man in America, news anchor Walter Cronkite, once said, "It is absolutely essential in a democracy to have competition in the media, a lot of competition." That sentiment is one of the driving forces behind WHAV's expanded local news effort. This is News Director Dana Esmel inviting you to listen to my hourly weekday newscasts right here on WHAV. You'll also find the area's most comprehensive local news reporting at WHAV.net on your computer or smartphone. Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free.
And that's the way it is.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. Clouds taking over as we head through tonight. Now, there may be a shower or two or some drizzle. Maybe areas of fog, too, with a low of 54. And it is going to be a cooler day on Tuesday. A lot of clouds, kind of a gray day. Not much in the way of rainfall, but there might be a shower, high of 64. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy. Once again, some drizzle or a shower, patchy fog, low of 52. And Wednesday, we continue with mostly cloudy skies. Maybe a quick shower to move on through with a high of 64. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next wave weather in 30 minutes.
Some gold favorites, the most music. WHAV Open Mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Just in case.
We're back on the Open Mic Show. With me is Haverhill City Councilor Mary Ellen Daly-O'Brien, who got exactly, an hour's notice to be on the program.
I had to throw on a little lipstick, but I'm here.
You look great as always.
Thank you, Tim.
All right. Now, the reason I asked Mary Ellen to be on, because we thought, we always like to work in a little history to the program as well. I have no idea exactly what this item is on the Haverhill City Council agenda for tomorrow night, but Mary Ellen has or Councilor Daly-O'Brien, that would be more formal, has an item on the council agenda. Why don't you tell our listeners and viewers first what that item is and why you placed it?
Well, Tim, I have had an ongoing concern about the lighting in downtown Haverhill, starting with a few years back trying to get our alleys lit. We have succeeded in getting one. I was hoping for 5.
Okay.
I'm not going to give up.
Which alley is lit?
It's actually the one, I believe, behind the Peddler's Daughter.
Okay, so we have one alley lit, 4 to go.
So, 4 to go. And it really, my concern was safety, quality of life. Let's just make downtown the most user-friendly we can. And, we've done so many things in the positive direction, I just want to keep that going. However, over the past year, one of the things that I have gotten emails about, and noticed myself was some of the streetlights in the downtown area not only were non-functioning, but some of them were totally missing, pole and all.
Pole and all.
Maybe victim of snow plowing, winter weather, and that type of thing. Could be victim of a car accident. There's a lot of really reasonable things that could happen that cause the light to be missing.
We're going to show some photos as we go. The first one will be the city-owned parking lot off Merrimack Street next to Haverhill Bank. And I think there's a little delay, so you won't see it at the same time listeners will. But I think most of the streetlights are of this same type now, right?
There's like 3 different kinds of lights that I'm aware of. Some of them are more historical in nature, and some of them are your traditional lights.
Okay.
Like that would be the more historical light that we're looking at there, that you're showing me. Very expensive to replace. Very expensive.
I would think so.
The other problem we have with the lights is they're not ours.
They're not the city's?
Correct. Some of them are owned by National Grid.
Now that's very interesting. Now didn't the city pay the capital cost with the Merrimack Street projects and the Washington Street projects? Or?
Well, yes, and that's so the ones that we do own, it's mostly these expensive lights, but now to the mayor's credit, he is definitely on board about this and getting things replaced. He's not. My concern is how many are really out, what's the cost, and what's the plan to replace.
Here's an old photo, I think at the end of Merrimack Street, maybe Water Street, now that I'm looking at it. Now, it's hard to see it, listeners, but there's a street light from that era. It's similar to what we have now.
Is it underneath the R?
Yes, that's right. Under Wiener's Fur, the R.
Yeah.
And then we have it. And there's a better shot of one. And
I can remember that. I remember a light that looked like that.
Those are the more classic Haverhill lights. And I imagine the reason we don't have them is because no one manufactures them.
And I think that light that we're looking at that's historical has a similar globe shape.
It does. It does.
So and also similar polling. The antiquity look, if you will, of the 1880s, 1890s, early 20th century is definitely what we tried to do with the other poles.
It looks. Do you remember? Now, this is, of course, the ugly street lighting that went up, urban renewal era. And because those are common in neighborhoods, but we'd rather not have them downtown.
And most of those aren't there anymore. As far as Merrimack Street and Washington Street, there's nothing like that. But it's not just the streets; it's also the parking lots. It's a whole package. And again, credit to the mayor. He realizes that this is something that really does make a difference to the quality of life downtown. And we're trying to attract more and more people, not just as residents, but also people having businesses and restaurants, and even employers. If we have the kind of space downtown that you can use for your small business, wouldn't we love to have you down there?
Oh, well, that's a great call to action for people to put their business in downtown Haverhill. Now, all right, so what are you asking, if anything, of the city council? To put some money aside for repairs and maintenance, or at least put them on notice that, hey, the bill's coming?
Well, as a matter of fact, the mayor he got back to me about it already, and it seems that he already had the beginnings of a plan in place, and some of these lights have already been ordered, and they were in this budget. Because there's always, in every budget, there's repairs and upgrades, every budget. We're always trying to do something. I think what I'd like to do is have the council support in solidifying my issue of how many lights are out, what kind of replacement are we talking about? Are we talking about just a light? Is a light in a pole? What kind of, or is it just a light that's not working and all we have to do is tweak it? That's what we have to find out. And what's the plan to replace them? That's what I'm looking for.
What is, explain to us again, though, what is the role of National Grid?
National Grid owns some of our lights. There's actually some talk of us maybe buying some of them.
Well, I know way back when former Haverhill Mayor Jim Rorak talked about doing that. Is that right?
Yes, and I think that's where we got the ones we have now. I think he did buy some lights.
Oh, he did buy
I
some.
think so. I don't know the light plan, and the
Okay.
person who does is, let's see, I know I have his name here, Tom Gary, and he actually works for the school department.
Okay.
And so he's under the superintendent, not under the mayor. So it's like a little, we're crossing little lines here, but I don't
Okay.
think that there'll be a problem about having the cooperation of the school department. I don't see it as a barrier.
No, but it's funny. You raise something though that I think may be not necessarily in the backs of people's minds, but anyone who's been to City Hall in the last couple of years notices something if they were there 10 years ago. The building is empty.
Well, we don't need as many employees.
That's right. So, but the question remains, I wonder, is that a long-term situation? Do you think as we finally pay off some of the debt the city has, like the hospital and maybe some of these capital programs, that we'll ever return to a fully staffed City Hall?
I don't think we'll ever need a fully staffed. And quite frankly, I think it was a little too full.
Okay, well, that's what I want to hear.
I think it was a little too full. I think it's more comfortable. We've been able to update these offices, and people aren't on top of each other. Let's face it, under the mayor, we have really done a great job restoring the hallways and public
The building does
spaces.
look good.
It does look so much better. We're having some work done on the exterior of the City Hall this year, and I think he's going to continue that plan every year that we're going to do more and more. I would hate to lose that City Hall. That is a classic building. And I would hate to see that building not used the way it is being used. And I think that we're lucky that we can put as many different departments in that building. Many towns and cities don't have that. They have.
Oh, no. The building is definitely, there may have been a time 10, 20, 30 years ago when that building looked like it was going to be burst at the seams. But
we had the police in there.
The police was in there. The fire chief was upstairs.
Yep.
Although
I think fire's still there.
Fire's still there with the inspectional services. So with automation, with these kind of things, you don't ever see us resuming a full staff. What about at Public Works or Park Department?
That's a possibility, because that goes to the quality of the city and how we take care of it. And there's more and more that we're doing in the parks. That's been one of the things that the council has been behind the mayor about, is not only just updating the parks, but then maintaining them. And it's the same thing if we talk about the changes in the trash. One of the things the council has said to the mayor is, if we're going to make a change and it's going to be this significant, we've got to have enforcement. We have to make sure that people are doing what they're supposed to do. And that does take people. That's something automation can't do.
No,
there are certain
100%.
things that have to be done by people. My heart's desire, if we ever have the money, is to do a new fire station.
Oh, really? Now, where would that go?
I would like to see it somewhere on 97 Broadway area.
Because many years ago...
Right off of 495 is my preference.
Well, many years ago, Fire Chief Borden, the older Borden, was looking for that.
Yes.
And now there is some... I don't know how difficult it would be to get it, but it looks like the state owns 3 corners of that highway.
Everything's negotiable.
Well, that's what I'm thinking.
That's what I think, too. But my other dream wouldn't be to use that particular corner. I would love to have that corner with an IKEA. I think we should be entertaining.
Oh, you want to boost retail in that intersection?
I would love to.
Well, I would think that Target needs a friend.
It does. It does need a friend, and I think Haverhill is well situated to attract IKEA. Where they are down on Route 24 is because they get that whole southern Connecticut, Rhode Island,
This is an IKEA desk. And I had to do it by online, and hoping it looked okay.
It looked exactly. And everybody from the age of probably 15 to 45 has IKEA in their house. I know my children have furnished parts of their dorm rooms as well as now apartments with IKEA products. But when
Listening IKEA, you're invited.
But when I say IKEA would be perfect here is we've got Route 93. Okay. We've got Route 95, and we have 495 that connects the two, and Haverhill is right there. We would attract all these people from the northern tier of Massachusetts as well as the southern parts of Maine, Vermont, and New Hampshire.
Have you either written to IKEA or asked Bill Pillsbury
I
to do
have
so?
brought this up to Bill Pillsbury at least twice a year. He does kind of chuckle at me, but I'm not giving up.
You know, years ago, Bill Ryan pulled off some amazing feats with companies that everyone said we had no hope of attracting by, and I don't know if you ever, if you went back that far, but his bus routes were such that he avoided anything that looked bad. It was this interesting bus route for people from out of town.
Oh, yes.
And you would take any if he wanted, back then...
Like
River
a
Street,
junket.
Well, River Street wasn't very pretty then, so he made sure we avoided it. He avoided some of the avenues. He had this...
He went to Riverside, I imagine.
He had this
in
weird
the Highlands.
route, then used 495 to skip over to northern Essex.
Yeah, Winnie Kinney Castle.
So, and
Canosa
I guess
Lake.
it was successful in bringing Wang to him.
Well, you know, like when I look at like Southwicks that we have attracted and the different businesses over in the business park, Wad Hill area, you know, Haverhill is in the right spot. And we're doing a lot of positive things. And I think, you know, the council is a good balance to the mayor, and the mayor is a good balance to us. And that's how it works. It takes all of us.
Oh, right. And it looks, Haverhill, I would say it's in the best shape it's been in since I've been alive. And, you know, we're not going to see some of the old come back, but maybe we get a little bit of it.
Well, but what's new should be quality. And that's what we look at. That's when I'm looking at a project coming in front of us. It's not about what Mary Ellen thinks. It's really, is this good for my city? And I have to say, to a man, my fellow councilors and woman, because of Melinda, I finally have a woman with me. But I think that we all...
You've been holding down the fort alone for quite some time.
Yes, I was. But it wasn't, you know, it wasn't too bad. It was a little lonely in the ladies' room, but it wasn't too bad. But I think that that's the way they all look at it. We are definitely one in our feelings about Haverhill. Best news we've had in the last few weeks, Casablanca is really coming and taking over that coach's corner.
I know. I had a little something to do with that. With the
Yeah, well, I think...
we're waiting for, I think, ABCC.
Yeah. And, you know, everybody expects things to happen very quickly, and we know it takes time. These government agencies like yours that you serve on.
Oh, wow. We did it fast. We have to wait for the state now.
Yeah, but isn't it wonderful? And I think they're going to be very successful there. There's enough parking in that area within walking distance to, they're not going to have a problem. And they have a fabulous reputation.
I have an idea for the city council to pass an ordinance. Now, of course, we might have trouble with the state on this, but an ordinance that fantastic new restaurants have to bring samples to all public meetings.
That wouldn't be bad. You know, and I think that's, again, this is all, you know, you've probably heard about some of the other things that are in the wind going on. You know, there's going to be something happening at Lowe's, and there may be some movement with the Chin building on Essex Street, and all these fabulous things. And that's just wonderful. And, I you know, whatever we can do as a council to cooperate with that, we'll do it. We'll do it.
All right. This is Wednesday?
Yes.
October 1st is a subcommittee meeting on the...
marijuana dispensary. I'm on that committee.
You think the state will actually send a representative and show up?
I'm not holding my breath.
Okay.
And it's not that they're trying to be uncooperative. I think they just don't know how to handle the situation. This does not look good. What happened here in Haverhill has really set a tone that other communities have their concerns too.
Yeah, we have a listener who wrote to us today. This was in regards to another matter, but he said, plenty of time to chase after a non-existent threat. By the way, he was referring to the bath salts issue.
Oh.
Plenty of time to chase after a non-existent threat, but still no marijuana dispensaries in the entire Commonwealth. What is it now? Almost 2 years since the voters approved the medical marijuana law.
It's disturbing to me because I believe in it. As a nurse, I know what good it can do for children.
Yeah,
for
I said at the
elderly
outset
people.
of this program that people shouldn't get confused with the issues. The issues that have been raised in the news have to do with the dirty money side of it, but not. I don't know if you heard it last week. We had him on the air. Candidate for Secretary of the Commonwealth, David D'Arcangelo. He's a Malden City Councilor. he said what they did, now maybe this wouldn't work here, but he said what they did in Malden is if it's a medical use, then we're going to use our existing medical zones and no moratorium, no issues.
We only have one medical zone, and it just wouldn't fit there.
Okay.
Because it's too close to residences.
All right.
There is that resident guideline.
Okay.
I think that we've identified a couple of places in Haverhill that may work, and we're going to be reviewing that on Wednesday night to see which one can fly.
And you think, I know you can't necessarily predict the future, but are you confident that the moratorium will be lifted by the deadline?
I think
November?
if we identify a place and the mayor is on board with it, as well as other city hall officials, I think we can move on it. We want to get this done. And we don't want to confuse it with the fact, are we for marijuana or are we against marijuana? That's not what it's about.
No, the voters said this is democracy.
About finding a place where they can establish that business.
All right. So then we may hear more at Wednesday's meeting.
Oh, yes.
We may hear more at Wednesday's meeting. All right. We're going to take a break. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to talk about. I'm going to give you I'm going to give you a politician's dream, 10 minutes if you want.
Oh, well.
Do anything you want
on
with
my dream list, the mayor has acted on something else that I wanted, was to continue the thinning out of the trees on the river.
Okay, I'll tell you what. Hold that thought. Let's go to a brief break. I think we have a movie review, and we'll be back with Mary Ellen Daly-O'Brien, Haverhill City Councilor, no longer the only woman on the council.
I'm very happy about that.
Held the spot for years and years. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic after this.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
Phil Christie here. Are you listening to WHAV on cable television? If so, join WHAV in thanking the board, staff, and members of your local public access channel.
Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. They're attracted by the region's technology and innovation, housing and education, workforce, arts, culture, and recreation, and convenient location and easy access. Learn more and look at profiles of all 24 cities and towns at the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council website at merrimackvalley.info.
Catch the wave!
Suspense, a weekly anthology of notable melodramas from stage and screen, fiction and radio, presented every Monday night to bring you to the edge of your chair, to keep you in suspense. Listen to the new Suspense with a company of Hollywood actors and surprising guest stars, Monday nights at 10, with encore performances at 1 a.m., right here on WHAV. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
This is Take Two Movie Review. I'm Kim Lowe. This week, a star is born in this well-written crime drama. It's probably impossible to review The Drop and not mention that this is the last performance of the late, great James Gandolfini. While Gandolfini is amazing here and reminds us that we lost a great actor last fall, The Drop may mark the beginning of new career opportunities for his co-star Tom Hardy. Hardy, who received much critical acclaim for his work in this year's earlier release Locke, shows that he has what it takes to take him beyond action films and establish himself as a respected character actor. In The Drop, Hardy plays a bartender named Bob who was employed by his cousin Marv in an establishment that Marv used to own before he was forced to sell it to some Chechen gangsters. The new owners aren't interested in the day-to-day operations. Rather, their interest in the place is to use it as a temporary depository for their illegal money. money. All goes smoothly until one night the place is robbed and there is immediate suspicion that Marv was not only aware of it, but also engineered the entire thing. Thus the robbery puts into play a series of events that has long-lasting consequences both for Marv and Bob, including deeply buried secrets they would both like to forget. While the plot seems straightforward, there are enough twists and revelations to keep even the most jaded viewer entertained. You really will have no idea how it ends. Gandolfini and Hardy show great on-screen chemistry, and the former embodies his role so naturally that at times it's easy to forget that he is acting. The drop reminds us that when it comes to great crime drama, a big budget and impressive special effects aren't always necessary. Rather, great writing and talent are. This has been Take Two Movie Review. I'm Kim Lowe. Catch up with us at Take2MovieReview.com and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Take2_Review.
Catch the wave. WHAV. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show. This hour of the Open Mic Show is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. Okay, I just want to do a last call for October birthdays or anniversaries. We're going to actually do the drawing at 8:15, and then next week we start with November birthdays and anniversaries. So get those names in. Call 978-374-1900, and the winner, in about 20 minutes, will win a cake from Albie D's Italian Bakery, 140 South Main Street in Bradford. Mary Ellen, have you been to Albie D's Italian Bakery?
No, I have not. It sounds awesome. How long have they been there?
I was asking that question earlier. A year or less, but they also have Italian breads, cookies, pastries, cakes, pizzas, meat pies, and more. Don't you feel like you're in an old radio commercial?
I know. Well, I can sing the old WHAV jingle.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You want to do it?
WHAV, Haverhill, ba 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 ba.
We're going to save that for the archives.
All right. I also do the weather.
You do the weather?
What is it? Is it gonna be rain? Is it gonna be hot? You need to know for your mental tranquility.
We have some ones that are older than that one, but that's missing from the archives. Very good, thank you. All right, speaking of cake, here's a comment someone made about the. Did you hear on WHAV News about the 22 youngsters arrested at Brandybrow Road?
That's been going on since before I was even a teenager.
Well, here's the comment that's kind of a joke. One of our listeners wrote, "This is the problem with childhood obesity. Kids used to be able to run away from the cops when those Brandybrow keggers got raided."
That's right. I mean, I
WHAV listeners have a sense of humor.
That was a rite of passage from those of us at Haverhill High and what was then Haverhill Trade, and then it became Whittier Votech. I mean, that's where we met. People from the other high school was at Brandybrow.
All right.
And there was another place over in Bradford somewhere, I think, if I remember correctly.
Really?
I think so.
All right.
I have memory.
There's a caller for you.
Oh, my.
Headphones.
It's probably making fun of my terrible singing voice because it's allergy season.
All right. You are on the Open Mic Show.
Hi, no, Mary Ellen, we're not making fun of you. In fact, you look absolutely marvelous.
Oh, thank you.
I hardly recognized you. You look great. You ought to go into the modeling set.
Oh, God.
You do, in all sincerity. This comment, though, is for both of you. I understand entirely the need for cheerleading in Haverhill. I've been seeing it for nearly 30 years. But here's what I see, and maybe I'm seeing a different Haverhill here. Right now, unless I'm wrong, there's only one art gallery. There's been never any live theater venue. Rockport, Portsmouth, Newburyport, Salem, Mass. All have live theater venues.
Well, Brian Longwell.
Let me just continue for a minute.
Go ahead.
There are some great restaurants, but there's also roast beef and pizza on every street corner. I think last time I counted, there were 8 Dunkin' Donuts and the Heavenly Donuts. We've had over 30 years with the Woolworth building. There are thrift shops. There's more than our share of thrift shops. Overgoing Brush on Ginty Boulevard. It's there. It seems to be every summer. It's the same thing. The same along the Buttonwoods Trail. And we just got, unless I'm incorrect and haven't been watching, I don't go to downtown Haverhill very often for obvious reasons, we just got flowers, I think, either this year or last year. So while I understand, there's a bit of progress in here, and I emphasize a bit, and I also want to comment on the political signs that I'm seeing. Some that are being placed on sidewalks, public places. A certain purple sign, I won't mention any names, a certain person running for state senator. The signs are omnipresent, and they make the city look bad. They make it look dumpy.
All right,
They're everywhere.
Why don't we give Councilor? Let's get Councilor Mary Ellen Daly to respond to any part of that, because we have to go to news shortly. Mary Ellen, or Councilor? I'm sorry, I know you too well.
I know. Well, we know each other over 25 years. First of all, Brian Longwell, who owns the building where the Peddler's Daughter is, he had a theater in there for several years. I want to say it was 6 or 7 years. He could never make a go of it. It just didn't click in Haverhill. That doesn't mean something won't click in the future, but it just didn't click, and that was in the 90s and early 2000s. As far as the other things that you've mentioned, a lot of those have a flip side to them. Actually, the flowers have been downtown Haverhill, oh my gosh, now it must be 8 or 9 years. It actually predates our present mayor. It started before him. It's just that, I think sometimes we just don't notice the positives. And that's what I do. I look for the positives, because you can't fix everything all at once. It doesn't happen. So all these things, all these steps in a forward direction make those things more and more obsolete. And people will take pride in this city if you accomplish these things. But unfortunately, we cannot do everything at once as much as we'd like to.
Okay, listener, is that okay?
Well, I wonder maybe if it's a question of needing to raise revenue. I constantly hear the phrase, no new taxes, everywhere I go. I don't only hear it among the conservative right wing. I don't want to, I can't think of another phrase, but sometimes I hear it about it too from what I want to phrase as cowardly Democrats today. We've got to get revenue from somewhere. Where are we going to get it from?
Well, if I can address that, every bit of revenue that is collected in Haverhill is used in Haverhill. So whatever taxes you're paying in Haverhill are being used in Haverhill, whether it's for public safety or the school system or the buildings or the roads or the bridges or the parks.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is it sounds like we need more, and I wish there were people who would step to the plate politically and do that and say we need to raise. I
think they have. I disagree with you. I think they have, and I think that after 9/11, the devastation that this country went through, but Massachusetts took it very, very, very hard. We had to overcome that along with the sale of the Hale Hospital, all at once. And we lost a lot of employees. There was several layers of layoffs for 4 or 5 years. You can't do, as I said, you cannot do everything all at once. You have to address the most important priorities, and those are established by us collectively as a government, the city council, along with the school committee, along with the mayor, along with the superintendent of schools, the public safety superintendent, Chief Denaro.
Well,
I mean, we this is what we sit around and do every year.
Yep, just one last comment. Haverhill is the cheapest place to live, and that's probably one of the reasons why a lot of people choose to live here. that's a very positive thing. It's also a very negative thing.
And Haverhill is one of the most beautiful places to live, too.
Hey, listener, I'm going to give you the last word. Do we need a tax increase, and would you support it?
I'd be the first one to put down $100 out of my pocket for the first one to do it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your call. Appreciate your listening. We're going to have to go to news now. We're going to hear local news, national news, local weather, and Nate Webster's NASCAR race recap. We'll be back with more after that.
Open mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
It's 8:06.
WHAV Merrimack Valley. WHAV is a not-for-profit service of Public Media of New England Incorporated. It's heard on 1640 AM, the web, at whav.net, and participating cable television stations.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Rebecca Foster. The White House says it supports the democratic aspirations of protesters in Hong Kong, but urges peace between riot police and demonstrators. Authorities are clashing with tens of thousands of protesters in Hong Kong as the demonstrators demand an uncensored electoral process and refuse to leave public spaces. White House spokesperson Josh Earnest said the Obama administration is closely watching the situation. He also said the White House believes an open society with universal suffrage is critical for Hong Kong's success. Mr. Earnest said U.S. leaders have made their position clear to authorities in Beijing and will continue to do so. He urged for calm in the streets of Hong Kong.
The United States urges the Hong Kong authorities to exercise restraint and for protesters to express their views peacefully. The United States supports universal suffrage in Hong Kong in accordance with the basic law, and we support the aspirations of the Hong Kong people.
The United States is congratulating Afghanistan's new leaders following the inauguration of the country's president. Ashraf Ghani was sworn in following a prolonged dispute over the election results with his rival Abdullah Abdullah, who gets the new post of chief executive. As Malcolm Brown reports from Washington, the U.S. is now hoping for the prompt signing of a deal which would allow some American troops to remain in the country after the deadline for the withdrawal of American forces.
There's relief here that Afghanistan's post-election wrangling is over and hope that the inauguration marks a new start. The U.S. Secretary of State John Cary has congratulated Ashraf Ghani and Abdullah Abdullah, calling them patriots committed to the success of their country. The departure of former President Hamid Karzai, with whom Washington had an extremely fractious relationship, clears the way for the signing of a long-delayed deal on foreign forces staying on after 2014. The expectation is that the so-called Status of Forces Agreement would be signed within 24 hours of President Ghani's swearing in.
As the United Nations General Assembly continues, there have been renewed calls to reform the UN, in particular the UN Security Council. Here's Nick Harper from New York.
Geopolitics have changed much since the UN's creation in 1945, but the UN Security Council has altered relatively little. Calls for reform are not uncommon, especially in the public arena of the annual UN General Assembly, with 5 permanent seats and 10 rotating on the 15-member Security Council. India, Brazil, Germany and Japan all want to be added to the permanent list. And African countries, including South Africa, Kenya and Angola, who are likely to replace Rwanda on the Council next year, lament the lack of permanent representation from the African continent.
From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Here's what's happening in local news. A proposed ban on the sale of synthetic marijuana, also known as cannabinoids or bath salts, goes to a hearing Tuesday night before the Haverhill City Council. Mayor James J. Fiorentini said recently that he proposed the ordinance after learning of overdose deaths in other cities. Quote, all throughout New England there has been a growing problem with so-called synthetic marijuana. While this has not yet become a problem in Haverhill, we shouldn't wait until it is. The time to act is now, before there is an overdose in the city, Fiorentini said. The proposed law, placed on file 2 weeks ago, prohibits people or businesses from selling synthetic cannabinoids, often labeled as herbal incense, potpourri, bath salts, jewelry cleaner, fake pot, or smokable incense. The draft ordinance requires a written warning but no other penalties for the first offense and a fine of $300 or other criminal action for any subsequent offense. Haverhill Police will be charged with enforcement. Also on the Haverhill City Council agenda, a hearing is expected to be held after several postponements since last June on the proposed acceptance of streets within a condominium development as public ways. Developer Magnum Partners LLC is asking the council to give the status to Perspective Drive and Magna Vista Drive. Magnum manager John H. Pearson Jr. and member Stephen J. Doherty Sr. last week asked for an extension until Tuesday's meeting in order to ensure all outstanding items required by the Conservation Commission to certify satisfactory completion of the project are completed. The Haverhill City Council meets at 7 p.m. Tuesday in council chambers at Haverhill City Hall. 22 people are due in court to face alcohol-related charges after Haverhill police broke up an underage drinking party late Friday night. Haverhill police report they responded to a disturbance shortly after 11:30 p.m. Friday at 270 Brandy Brow Road. 18 people under the age of 21, including two 17-year-old juveniles, were arrested, each charged with being a minor and in possession of alcohol. 4 men accused of supplying the alcohol to the underage drinkers were also arrested. 21-year-olds Jesse M. Brusso of Haverhill and Ryan M. Lascarbo of Lawrence are each charged with delivering alcohol to a minor. 21-year-olds James A. Dory of Haverhill and Benjamin Tochi of Groveland are each charged with procuring alcohol to a minor. In sports, WHAV's Nate Webster has this week's NASCAR race recap.
Sunday's race at Dover International Speedway marked the end of the Challenger round, and the bottom 4 drivers dropped out of the chase standings. That means A.J. Allmendinger, Eric Almirola, Kurt Busch, and Greg Biffle are knocked out of the next round. Jeff Gordon was your race winner. He hasn't won at Dover since 2001. Gordon picks up his 4th win of the year and moves on to the next round. He talks about keeping up with the 2-car at the end of the race.
A really solid race all day long. I know we had that one little hiccup on pit road, but I was pretty happy from the start of what we had. I felt like we had a shot at the 2-car, and then at the end, glad we had a lot of laps to go and that we didn't have a restart. He would have been tough on the restarts, but on that long run, we definitely were the car to beat.
5 cautions in the race, including on lap 62 for debris in turn 4. Ricky Stenhouse gets into the wall on lap 76. The 32 car of J.J. Yelly gets into the wall on lap 172. Kevin Harvick has a left front tire go down, grinding his splitter. He would come back to pit road several times for repairs. Your top 10 were Gordon, Keselowski, Johnson, Logano, Kenseth, Larson, Truex, Newman, Boyer, and Kyle Busch. Nate Webster, WHAV Sports.
Remember, WHAV is the only Haverhill-based news source, and it's always free. In the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, this is Dana Esmel.
Wave weather.
I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre with Wave Weather. Clouds taking over as we head through tonight. Now, there may be a shower or two or some drizzle. Maybe areas of fog, too, with a low of 54. And it is going to be a cooler day on Tuesday. A lot of clouds, kind of a gray day. Not much in the way of rainfall, but there might be a shower, high of 64. Tuesday night, mostly cloudy. Once again, some drizzle or a shower, patchy fog, low of 52. And Wednesday, we continue with mostly cloudy skies. Maybe a quick shower to move on through with a high of 64. I'm WHAV meteorologist Rob St. Pierre. Your next Wave Weather in 30 minutes.
Your donations enable WHAV to remain local and independent. Consider giving what you can afford at WHAV.net.
WHAV, Merrimack Valley. Open mic.
From the Edwin V. Johnson newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show, a 50-year staple of democracy in the Merrimack Valley. This hour of the Open Mic Show being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. And you know, there's quite a bit of economic development news at WHAV's new expanded website, WHAV.net. You'll find out that a local college won an Innovation Award for Advanced Manufacturing. That'll be presented soon. Check out more information on that at WHAV.net. Okay, we're going to give you 1 minute to call in a birthday cake or an anniversary cake wish. We're taking October birthdays. And then next, we'll award one tonight. We'll send that out as soon as we can. And then next week, we start on November. All right. I'll take the hat now in case we don't get them, but if we do, we'll reshuffle. So 1 minute. Now, while we're counting down, let me go try to catch up on what's on the bulletin board. Here's a comment. I don't disagree with you at all. I think this is referring to medical marijuana. Personally, I think they should and probably will in 2016 drop the medical facade and just legalize it. Yes, I think that's where it's going to. We've seen it out west. But the problem you talked about will still remain. A vast regulation and then taxation bureaucracy will lumber into place with everyone trying to get a piece of the action, including people who are now adamantly enforcing the laws against it. Meanwhile, New Hampshire will probably legalize it and charge 10% lower tax. That's probably true, and have dispensaries set up at the border within a few weeks of anything Massachusetts does. Good comment, listener. Yeah, I mean, I think the problem is it's been caught up in the usual dirty money politics, and that is why we have this mess with medical marijuana. And, it is a good observation that a listener made last week, that the person who has become the biggest advocate, at least for one company, a former senator and a former state police lieutenant, now thinks it's a great thing because he's getting paid to do it. Another comment, this one from our Open Mic Show historian, David Gounswood. A restaurant row without a reason to go downtown can only attract locals. Giant shoes and murals of obscure locals are not drawing tourism dollars. Buttonwood's fake excavations and tree decorating are not drawing tourists. Whittier's birthplace is a side stop en route to Amesbury and Newburyport. David Gounswood continues, the one thing Haverhill had that was bringing in visitors across the nation and even some international traffic was the special collections room at the library, which at one time was as highly regarded among genealogists and historians as Boston and Salem. Yet that destination remains crippled by budgetary and staffing issues. You want a robust downtown, bring in tourists. You want to bring in tourists, give them a reason to come and spend money on dining, lodging, and fuel. Interesting comment David is making. He's saying that the quasi-public sector, in this case the library, could play a role in Haverhill tourism simply by restoring Haverhill special collections to what it was. Okay, I have the birthday hat. This hat goes back to Jack Bevilacqua. All right, you shook these up. I'll shake them some more, turn a few over. All right, we're going to give away a birthday or anniversary cake. Let's pick this one here, and let's see. We don't have a drum roll. We have to get one of those. Oh, well, I know the name because I can't say it. Tatiana Francis has won the birthday cake, and if my memory serves me correctly, Brian, longtime listener from Haverhill, called in her name. Her birthday is October 24th. Happy birthday, Tatiana. She'll be receiving a gift certificate for a free cake from Albie D's Italian Bakery in Bradford. It's a 7-inch cake. She'll have a choice of vanilla or chocolate. It'll have house frosting. All she has to do is wait for the letter to arrive, call in her cake order. They'll make it fresh and then present the letter. Our thanks go out again to Albie D's second-generation Italian bakery in Bradford, 140 South Main Street. So very, very good. And in light of all of this discussion of medical marijuana, if she gets the munchies, she'll be all set. So, all right, we're going to take a brief break for Community Spotlight. I hear the phones ringing. We'll be back with more of the Open Mic Show in just a minute.
Open Mic!
Tim Coco and the Open Mic will be right back. Get in on the action. Call 978-374-1900 or email tcoco@whav.net. If you are enjoying this program, please consider making a donation right now. Your donations to not-for-profit WHAV help keep these vital community services on the air. Donate online at www.whav.net.
For live and local talk, listen to the Open Mic Show, Monday nights. You can also see the program at www.whav.tv. Only local radio can bring you this talk opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Catch the wave!
Here, don't forget your free ticket to the biggest theater in the world. Your seat is reserved for Modern Theater of the Mind every Tuesday night. WHAV presents Radio Theater Project, a new anthology series of comedies, dramas, mysteries, and science fiction. Tune in every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. or the encore performance at 1 a.m. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Community Spotlight!
Beginning Friday, October 10th at 1 p.m., the Haverhill Council on Aging is offering a new social media class. Laurie Cranton is leading a group of seniors through the social media wave. Class will be held at the Citizen Center, 10 Welcome Street, Haverhill. Participants are required to bring in a laptop, tablet, or smartphone to join the class. Wi-Fi is available for participants. For more information on the class and to register, contact Kathy Bresnahan or Rita Labella at 978-374-2390. Someone you know is on WHAV. To submit or read your own nonprofit announcements, click on the Contact tab at whav.net or email news@whav.net. In the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, this is Martha Melendez.
WHAV Open Mic!
From the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom, WHAV presents the Open Mic Show with Tim Coco. Make your voice heard. Call 978-374-1900. That's 978-374-1900. Or email tcoco@whav.net.
Welcome back to the Open Mic Show. This hour is being brought to you by the Merrimack Valley Economic Development Council. Smart companies choose the Merrimack Valley. And we're going to go to the phones. I believe David Goudswood has decided that he couldn't fit enough into that message. David, how are you?
It's just so hard to type like that.
Well, thank you.
You keep saying that hat goes back to Jack, but it never seems to go back to Jack.
Oh, we're not going to let him have it.
I'd like to let him have it. I mean, he should have it.
Okay. I pardon the term, I played the straight man on that one.
Well, if you're just going to lob softballs at me all night, I'm going to keep hitting them.
Okay. All right, what's on your mind, David?
I just thought I'd call with Community Spotlight just getting off the air and let you know there's a couple of other events that didn't gel in time to make it into this rotation for Community Spotlight.
Okay.
Most notably, October 3rd, upcoming
that's
Friday,
right.
I believe it is at the Buttonwoods Museum's lecture series with authors at the Buttonwoods. And it will be 6 members of the New England horror writers talking about, surprisingly enough, October-themed Halloween. And they'll be there with their books to sign. My brother, most notably, will be there, along with local author Peter Muse, who just did an absolutely spectacular book on folklore in the Northeast.
All right, so Scott
section of Essex
Goudswood,
County.
Peter Muse are going to be, and others are going to be, let's just make sure the listeners got it, at the Buttonwoods Museum of the Haverhill Historical Society. What day?
That's October 3.
Is what's that, Friday?
Correct.
All right, what time?
I was afraid you'd ask me that.
Well, because I'm thinking some people are going to be going to Spotlight Playhouse's production of Arsenic and Old Lace, and David.
But when it fills out, when it's overflow, standing room only, they got to go somewhere else.
That's right. City Hall's not too far away. All right.
There you go.
Of course, David, maybe we've done this shtick before, as you might say, but David also had a role in the Haverhill High School 1979 production of Arsenic and Old Lace. And correct me if I'm wrong, I was supposed to ring the phone and stop it before it was picked up. I kept ringing it after it was picked up. Do you remember that?
Yes, but I wasn't the one on stage having to answer it, and that was where the problem was.
Who was that, Jim Bessie?
No, tell you the truth, I don't remember who it was. And Jim Bassi and I and Kathy O'Malley had done the show the previous summer. So anything that went wrong while we were on stage, we could fake it because we knew every line and every part, so it wasn't one of us.
All right. So, but it does bring back memories that Spotlight Playhouse is doing that.
Oh, I remember one night we were doing it for the senior class play, and I don't know if you remember who played Jonathan Brewster, the Boris Karloff role.
Was that Jim? No.
That was our buddy Vincent.
Oh,
Vincent Frangoulis.
Vincent Frangoulis, another member of the class of 1979.
But while I'm in the chair about to be tortured to death by evil brother, the rope they used let loose. And there I am sitting there on the stage, and the rope has just untied itself and is down sitting on the floor.
Oh.
Now, obviously, in character, I'm going to get out of there, so I had to get up and start trying to sneak out while they're doing their lines. They turn around, and I'm not in the chair, and they froze.
Oh, so you were Brewster?
I was Mortimer Brewster.
Mortimer Brewster. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I know.
35 years, I guess. Where's John Guerin when you want
I think
him?
you're right. Too bad I don't actually attend any of the events, so I couldn't tell you.
There's a reunion in November, I believe.
Yeah, but I think I finally convinced the people on the mailing list I died, so I don't get the mail anymore.
All right.
It's taken me 30 years, but I managed.
Yeah, this is just a recording, folks. All right, David. So, what else is on your?
Really good connection.
What else is on your mind?
Just to reiterate what I said in the Post, October 7th, Scott is also doing, with 9 other horror writers, an event at the Tewksbury Library. So, I mean...
Is it Tewksbury or Tewksbury?
I think it depends on how long you've been studying the history of the area.
Okay.
I mean, I've heard it done both ways, and I think it's almost... I don't think there's a right way on that one.
Oh, no, I'm just kidding.
But I believe if you go with the phonetic spellings in the witch trials, it is Tewksbury, but
all right.
I'm sure I'll be corrected by somebody if it isn't.
I'm sorry, did you say that you posted this information?
I believe it was going to the calendar, but it just solidified at the last minute for Buttonwoods. In fact, I think Pete Muse was at it this week.
Okay.
So,
all right, so if you want to meet some local authors on Halloween themes, go to Buttonwoods Museum this Friday. I'm sure the information is at, I think, what's their website, haverhillhistory.org?
Yes, it is. And they will all have books to sign for those people who have to give out Halloween presents or really, really odd Christmas presents. And they'll be there to talk about their work and the process of writing and the process of publishing, more importantly.
Oh, okay, great. Let me just see if I can bring this up at the same time and help out some listeners here. Whoops. Because I have to type and talk, which is complicated for me. All right. So we have...
Well, if you go to Scott and or my website, which is just goudsword.com, on the front page of it, there is a link at the bottom called Upcoming Appearances, and it has links to the event there and the one in Tewksbury, and actually one up in Candia.
All right,
and
'cause
links to all the relevant sites.
I'm not sure that I see it at haverhillhistory.org, so we have to go to yours.
It's not the most well-designed site I've ever run across. I think you have to go into... Actually, looking at it myself now, I'm not even sure where to look for it at this point.
All right, but now your website, meet two authors. Their approach to horror is somewhat varied. Even scarier, they're brothers. What a great site at godsword.com. All right, David, I'm told we are out of time.
It would not be the first time.
Unless we risk being thrown off, but we are back on television, and I'm happy, and I do want to try out this elderberry wine. All right.
Someday when we have time, I have a story about elderberry wine doing Arsenic and Old Lace, too.
All right. Well, I'd like to hear it maybe next time. But, David, thank you very much for that call out for the event. And we have been cut off from Haverhill Community Television, so let's pick it up again next week.
Will do. Talk to you later.
Thank you. All right, that'll wrap up the open mic show for another week. Those of you who are still listening, we posted at WHAV.net today a June 2011 open mic show. It's in the archives section. Go to WHAV.net. You'll see it's being teased right now in the carousel, and it's available free. You can listen to the entire interview with Jack Bevilacqua. We're interviewing Phil Christie, veteran WHAV DJ. That's going to be up for a while, and then it goes to the member-only section. So take a look at that. Have a great week. What weekend? It's Monday. Week, and then a great weekend, and we'll see you next week on the Open Mic Show.
Open Mic!
Join Tim Coco live on the Open Mic again next Monday night at 6:30. The opinions expressed on the Open Mic Show are not necessarily those of WHAV, its underwriters, or affiliated stations. The Open Mic Show came to you from the Edwin V. Johnson Newsroom.
It's 8:32.
If you want to know what's going on at WHAV, sign up for the free monthly Wavelengths newsletter online at WHAV.net.
Catch the wave!
Melinda's Garden Moments help gardeners create and maintain a healthy, beautiful garden with ease, inside or out and all year long. This is Melinda Myers, inviting you to tune in every weekday morning right here on WHAV. You'll learn creative ways to grow your own vegetables and herbs while beautifying your landscape. Eco-friendly lawn care, flower garden design basics, unique container gardens, attracting birds and butterflies to the landscape, and much more. Again, please join me weekday mornings for Melinda's Garden Moment for a very environmentally friendly approach to gardening. Remember, only local radio can bring you this feature opportunity, but only WHAV does.
Wave weather!
I'm WHAV meteorologist